Welcome back. Now, around 15% of the Irish population suffer from IBS, and bloating is one of the most common symptoms. So what can you do when symptoms strike?
Well, joining us with advice on beating the bloat is nutritionist Heather Leeson. Heather, good morning to you.
Morning, Heather.
Good
How are you?
morning. I'm great, thank you.
When we're talking about bloating, Heather, are we talking about one particular condition?
Well, bloating is probably one of the most obvious signs that you have IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. And I mean, bloating, people can think I'm a little bit bloated. It can actually be a massive problem, cause real discomfort for people. And IBS also comes hand in hand with diarrhea, constipation, cramps, all sorts of different things. So it can be very debilitating.
It's such a strange one though, because people just go, I just have a bit of a sore, a bit of a sick stomach.
Exactly,
It's
they're not
probably a
quite
bug.
sure what it is.
But if it's consistent.
Oh, listen, you have to follow up. So if you've got gut symptoms, any IBS symptoms for more than 3 months, you need to be going to see your doctor, because the first thing they'll do is rule out something more serious, like inflammatory bowel disease or even colon cancer. So you
Crohn's,
do need,
whatever,
Crohn's, exactly. So you need to follow that up. Now, in most cases, people are going to do those tests with the doctor and everything's going to be fine, which is great news, except they've still got the IBS.
Yes.
So what do you do then? There's a couple of things that you can look at, because it's normally caused by bacterial issues, either too much of the wrong kind of bacteria or bacteria in the wrong place. So you can test with stool tests. We do a breath test for something called small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So a lot of people have this, they think they've IBS, but actually there's a reason they have it, and you can get rid of it. But first and foremost, follow up. After 3 months, if it's still there, follow up. Because it's
So
just
what
to rule out
kind of
something more
symptoms
serious.
might people be experiencing, Heather?
Well, bloating is the obvious one, and we often say flat stomach in the morning, pregnant by dinner time. And you know that I have patients in clinic who actually have to have different sets of clothes that they wear in the evening because they're so bloated. So that's the obvious one, but also the loose stools or intermittent diarrhea and constipation. All of these really antisocial things that can actually make you
your life
sick.
Such a
difficult.
debilitating condition,
It
it really is.
And a lot of people gloss over it, but it is a big problem for a lot of people.
So in terms of bloating then, are there particular things that we should steer away from in terms of our diet?
There are, yeah. Now, to start with, if you've just had a meal and you're very bloated, there's a couple of things that you can do straight away. Things like peppermint tea, ginger tea, fennel tea, or something like this stomach ease tea, which is a blend of different herbs. That can be very helpful straight away if you're already feeling it. Peppermint capsules, or even massaging, particularly for children who get sore stomachs, massaging in a clockwise fashion can really help. That's kind of like bolting the stable after the horse has gone. And then in the other things that you can do, avoid the obvious triggers. There are some really obvious triggers. If you've got a sensitive stomach, there's things you want to be avoiding. Coffee, alcohol, those stonemasons in the olden days, I said they had loads of IBS. And just the very basic stuff. Eat smaller meals. Often you feel
the portion size is key,
after a massive meal. And if you have a sensitive stomach, you're giving your stomach a lot of work to do in one point in time. So spread your food out little and often. Not all the time, your stomach needs a break too, but eat less at a sitting.
So you have bran there as well, is that a...
Yeah, now bran used to be recommended for people with IBS. We do need fibre because we need fibre to feed beneficial bacteria and to pull things through. But actually a lot of people will find that bran irritates them because it's quite hard to digest. And again, this is giving you a little bit of a clue as to what might be going on. So if you can't tolerate things like bran or some of the more windy foods like cabbage and pulses, that's probably telling you have a little bit of a bacterial issue there. So that's where you would investigate. But certainly if you do have IBS and you're sensitive, don't be trucking into the all bran. Watch things like cabbage, like any pulses, because you're going to be more affected.
It is
by
amazing though,
the
Heather. I
average
have friends, and I have a good friend and a family member who suffer from IBS and Crohn's. And it's amazing how it differentiates itself between just the two of them. For example, one of them cannot eat greens. The other one can. They both have the same condition. But it's so individual.
Absolutely.
And it's trial and error, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll read online, or your friend will tell you this really worked for me. And
Exactly,
We're all completely different. And I have to say, we don't really understand the gut very well. But the bacteria are really, really important in getting that balance right, knowing what's going on. And another really simple thing is actually staying well hydrated.
Water.
Now, I talk about this all the time, but if you think about it, and I don't want to be indelicate on a Saturday morning, but your gut needs plenty of fluid to flush things through and keep it moving. So you can form blockages, and that's really common this time of year. It's hot. particularly in kids. They're running around, they forget to drink water, and then they've got a pain in their tummy. So make sure you're well hydrated, especially if you're constipated. By constipated, I mean not going to the bathroom every day with a bowel movement, or your stools look like sheep droppings. That's constipation. And another one, stress. So take some steps to control stress, and you might find with your pals, Simon, that stress is a trigger.
Yeah, absolutely. And I attended a doctor myself once when I had a stomach problem, and he said it was a stress-related bowel disorder.
Yeah.
And I said, what in the name of God is that? He said, look, your gut is like an alarm clock. If you're under stress, the first thing to go to give you trouble will be your gut. And I had all the various tests.
It's like a telltale, isn't it, on what's happening in your life?
Absolutely. So many physical connections between your brain and your gut. So if you are someone who does react to stress, then you need to be looking at the stress and what you can do.
What about the good stuff there? We've gone through the teas, obviously the dehydration with the water. I haven't seen this for a long time. Udo's Choice. Do you remember that?
Oh, that's not the oil. People think of Udo's oil.
Which is what they're famous for, isn't
longer
it?
term, there's a few different things that you can do. I would always say, even before you get to this, do a food diary. If you're someone who has IBS, do a food diary for a week and see, can you pick out anything that's irritating
you? See where the reactions are and the peaks and troughs.
Exactly. So write your foods, what you're doing, even exercise and stress, and then try a probiotic supplement. Now, probiotics, that's the beneficial bacteria, and they can be very useful, particularly if you're constipated or with bloating. Some people will find it makes your bloating worse, and again, that's a symptom. That's showing you might have too much. You might have this thing called SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, which you can test for. So try a probiotic for 4 weeks, simple one. The digestive enzymes that you picked up on, they're very useful. We produce digestive enzymes ourselves, but as we get older, they reduce. Our production reduces. And if you're somebody who gets symptoms straight after eating, so within 5 minutes or 10 minutes of eating, putting a digestive enzyme in at the start of your meal can be very helpful. So it's just putting in things like lactase that help to absorb the food.
So they neutralise the acids, do they?
Well, no, they don't neutralise the acids, but they're putting in chemicals that your body should be producing but may not be, that actually break down your food. Because the problem is when your body can't digest the kind of the lumps of food that are there. So
that's where the problems arise.
And then a low FODMAP diet, which is kind of the trendy thing now to do, which is taking out some of those
What did you call it?
Low FODMAP. Now, there's information on our website, but that's taking out foods that do feed the bacteria, ferment and cause wind. So again, meal plan on our website, but that is a really useful thing to try in the short term. Short term, try these. Long term, follow up.
Excellent.
Brilliant. Great advice, as always, Heather.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you very much.
Right, still to come, Laura will be continuing her adventures on the Shannon.
Plus, here in the studio, we'll be tasting some award-winning Irish cheeses. Heather's here. And we're finishing off that lamb roast. Sorry, Heather. Smelling good. See you in a few.